Good morning and welcome to Monday, March 11th. Hope y'all guys had a great weekend. Today we'll talk about some of the economic things that happened over the weekend and what we can expect this next week. So hold on. Morning Dave will be with us momentarily.
Let's check in and find out how your IRA and your 401k are doing this morning. I think if you're heavy in airplane manufacturing, you're not having a good morning. The rest of it ain't all that bad. Downtown Sebring, we go to the offices of Statler Financial Services. Phillip Statler standing by. Phillip, good morning. How was your weekend?
Hey, good morning, Dave. Hey, it was pretty good, I guess. I was here working most of the weekend, but he got some things accomplished, which is always a good thing.
Oh, that's right. It's tax season in your line of work, isn't it?
Yes, and we do a few tax returns. Not as many as some people, but still enough to keep our finger on the pulse of the tax industry.
Just this completely unrelated to what we normally talk about. It's just with the new tax law and everything, all of the ballyhoo out in the press was that so many more people are going to be doing short forms. It was going to be easier. I was kind of wondering whether the tax prep business was kind of going to be down substantially this year. Seeing a lot of questions about the new tax law coming in.
We've seen an increase in people coming in, and I don't know if it's because of the tax law changes or just new people moving to town, but we are seeing more people use just the standard deduction, obviously because of the whole raising of it, and we're seeing people at this point not. I'm trying to think how many people. I probably out of 200 or so tax returns, we've maybe had 5 to 10 people that itemized this year. So from that standpoint, I think it's working from the government standpoint. So it's interesting to see. There's been some people that have been hurt by the new tax code, but more people I think have been helped than hurt.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious because I have not gotten around to do mine yet, so I haven't figured out whether or not I'm going to end up being an itemizer or not. But it occurred to me as we were starting to talk about it, and it seemed a question worth asking. Starting out the morning, the big news, if you're into airplane manufacturing, Boeing is having a decidedly bad morning as there's some questions about that new 737 jumbo thing they got after the Ethiopian airline crash, because been a couple of overseas airlines that have crashed those critters. That's a hot seller for Boeing. And if there's some doubt that it's airworthy, that could be real bad news for their stock long term, couldn't it?
Absolutely right, Dave. And so this is two, I think, airline crashes we've seen now in the last, I think it's 2 weeks. So, a matter of fact, China came out and basically has grounded all of those Boeing aircraft until they can figure out what the heck's going on.
Interesting sidelight I heard last night. There's some automated system on the run. I only half heard it. That the pilots for the Ethiopian Airlines may not have known about that. Some experts are saying might have been responsible for the crash. Kind of makes you wonder whether or not it's a training issue for the pilots, because our airlines on this side of the pond haven't had any issues with it whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't seemed to have any issues with it. But it's causing Boeing stock to be under quite a bit of pressure this morning, down about 11.7% right now, which is almost $50 a share. So it is definitely affecting the stock price today.
Absolutely. Kind of as a cautionary tale as well. But following the Dow as being the only indicator you got of the market, because it's a price-weighted index, and where the Dow is going is so far out of whack with the other major indexes today. If we weren't talking about a tragedy, I'd say it's almost amusing to look at the differences between the different indexes, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, because we've got the other two indexes heading slightly to the green this morning, but the Dow being punished severely for the Bow Industries.
Absolutely is. The other big government data dump report that comes out this morning, absent a lot of earning reports, is the retail sales figures for January. You and I were having so much fun sorting it through because there's 3 of them. Overall, retail sales in January were up 0.2%. Once you take gas out of the way, retail sales were up 0.9%. And if you take gas and cars out of the way, Boy, that's barn burner, 1.2%. And I'm still not 100% clear. Is that a miss or a beat?
Well, I think if you take just autos out of there, that's a beat because it's expected to come in at 0.3%, and it came in, I think, 1.2. So that was better. And if we look at the overall retail number, it came in at 0.2%. It was expected to come in at a minus 0.1%. So that was a good thing, especially coming off of December having the worst in about 10 years, I believe, sales numbers. But you have to remember, I mean, the folks out there are still being really cautious about what the sales really mean.
Absolutely. And something we always say, one data point is exactly that, a data point. And that's the thing that always needs to be brought on board. I'm noticing very little change on the Treasury bonds, indicating they aren't running and buying them like chiclets, but they aren't selling them either. And we've got kind of a hold steady look at the market right now. The other thing that I thought might affect the market, but I'm not seeing a lot of ballyhoo about it, was the Fed chairman, Paulson, did a pretty long interview with 60 Minutes last night, which he kind of was demurring as far as them baiting him with talking about President Trump's whacking the Fed for its interest rate increases. I thought his answer was kind of interesting.
Well, yeah, I didn't see that that article, or I didn't watch 60 Minutes, but I did see a headline that I thought was interesting, where Paulson said that the law is very clear that President Trump cannot fire him. So I guess that gives him a sense of security anyway.
That was one of the takeaways I got out of the thing. He said, I've got a 4-year term. I'm responsible primarily to Congress and the oversight committees, and I'm planning on serving out my term. Didn't say he was going to want another term, but at the very least, that I thought might make the market firm up a little bit. But I looked at the futures thereafter, and Boeing pretty much was the big lead story that pretty much was dragging everything down. If it was Paulson, things started falling about the time the futures markets opened up last night.
Yeah, it's I don't think I've seen any results of that at all. And like I said, we're not getting much of a bump. Things are improving a little bit more since those retail sale numbers came out.
And that's always good to see. Anything else likely to move the market this week? Here in Sebring, we're going to be all obsessed with the race, and we're going to be paying almost no attention to what goes on up north. Anything folks should be watching for that's upcoming this week that we should be watching for?
Well, we've got the CPI coming out. The CPI and the core CPI comes out actually tomorrow. Supposed to come out at 8:30. I wouldn't hold my breath for that, but it is coming out. Construction spending comes out. Producer pricing index comes out. Crude inventory comes out. So we do have some significant things coming out this week for as far as economic numbers.
All right, so the big story of the day that's going to drive us today is Boeing, setting the table. Friday was a kiss in your sister day with a pink tinge. She must have been wearing lipstick. The Dow was down a little under 23 points. NASDAQ down by 13 and change. The S&P down by a little under 6. All of those numbers were less than 0.25%. So it's kind of a pink tinge to a red day on Friday. Looking ahead for today, 45 minutes before we throw some real money around, Phillip, we kind of alluded to it. Dow's in the red. How is everything else going?
So the Dow is in the red, and it's kind of funny because the one place that I usually get that number is is showing everything but the Dow. But I looked at one of my other sources. It's a delayed quote, and it's down 184 points right now. The other indexes we have, the S&P 500, like I said, has improved some since the retail sales numbers came out. It's up 4.25. NASDAQ's up $25. Gold and silver both trading down about 0.3%. And then crude oil's up about 0.5% at $56.35 a barrel.
All righty. World markets, everything in green ink. Asia and Europe this morning, which is kind of an oddity as it sits. Phillip, somebody need advice as far as tax planning, retirement planning, basically making sure the money stays put where you want it to be. How do I find you on the phone?
David, give us a call at 382-0037. Follow us online at statlerfinancial.com, and then follow us on Facebook. Like our page there at Statler Financial Services. And then join us every weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, noon on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Sunday mornings on News Talk 730.
And as you always say, streaming now, too, at newstalk730am.com, and we're darn proud of that as well.
It's great to see y'all come to the 21st century, man. Hey, talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. As earnings season kind of closes out this quarter, not a whole lot to talk about on individual companies, but economically, we've got some things coming out the rest of this week. So stay tuned. Tune in us tomorrow morning and catch up on what's happening in the economy. Have a great day and look forward to tomorrow.